Hello, everybody. This is Eliz-sha from wisdomseekers.net. And we are not on an interactive, we are on a discussion, and you're more than welcome to ask questions about what we are discussing. You actually would love it. And this is E Squared with Elizabeth and Eliz-sha. And I do believe the subject today is natural magic and places in the world that contain natural magic. And I would assume that would be sort of like the pyramids and things like that.
Yeah. Kind of. I was going to talk about the weather and magic.
Oh, okay. That because I understood it was natural magic in the world.
Yeah, we can. I mean, I'm open for any topic. You know that.
That's what I that's what was relayed. But weather magic is really powerful, and right now that's extremely important subject.
It really is.
All the fires up here, and I'm having trouble getting this thing not to pop over when I didn't. Okay.
Yeah. But we can talk about magical places in the world and how close they are. You know, they're a lot closer than you think. You don't have to travel to Stonehenge to find them.
And you can. I remember walking in the woods when I was younger, and I walked into this little open space. I'm looking at it, and I go, "This place is magical." You could feel the energy. I didn't know much about energy back then. It was way before I was a teenager, but I could feel it.
Yeah, that is actually the best way to find magic around your world, is just to go and find it, which a lot of us don't anymore. We just don't have that relationship with the world around us. There's a lot of fear that keeps us from traveling,
Well, now, when I was young, I would go back in the woods with my friends. We were 7. We'd be gone all day long. I think with my mom knew how far we traveled out and about and things we did. She would have had a heart attack, but I wasn't expected back till lunchtime or supper time. And so
right.
We just went.
And nowadays we don't do that.
You can't.
We're too first off, money. We relate everything to money. How much is it going to cost? And so many of us feel like we can't go out exploring just because of the financial constraints. But like you and I talked about earlier, my yesterday trip, we did on less than $20.
That's pretty cool. So you must have lunch with you, right?
Right. Oh, definitely. Basically, because when I travel, I'm not sure I'm going places where there's food. So, I mean, sometimes we get lucky and there's restaurants out there, and other times.
When I was young, we always packed a lunch. We always had sandwiches and a drink. It just nobody went to McDonald's or whatever.
And it's more fun that way.
It really is.
It's more fun way. You're more likely to have a natural magical experience by avoiding the sort of what's normal for us now. We found an amazing little park in the middle of nowhere. I mean, when I say in the middle of nowhere, we were in the middle of nowhere. There was a road and sugarcane fields. That was it. And just poof, pops up this park in the middle of nowhere, and it's like a old abandoned baseball field. Sweet. With some old picnic tables, and it was just stop and sit and enjoy ourselves for a few minutes, and then go on our way. It's harder to do this in large cities, right? Magic is kind of suppressed in large cities, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist around you. It just may be a little more intimidating to find. Yeah. Yes.
I was just going to say that there was a Native American. He says, "What there's magic everywhere. There's earth everywhere. In big cities, it's just been transformed into cement and buildings."
Yes, and they develop their own energy pathways, right? And so it's why it may not be more like we traditionally consider. There are places in cities that are very magical. They have their own energy
You
and their
remember
own
that
outputs.
book, There's a Tree Grows in Brooklyn?
Mhm.
There's
Yes.
magic right there, right?
Right there. And it's all around us. And many of us think that we have to take these holy journeys. Like, like I said, we got to go to Stonehenge. We got to go to Mecca. We got to go to,
Lourdes.
yeah, and the, what's that place in Arizona? So we have to make these great pilgrimages. But the reality is we should be seeking it every day.
So Spirit Feather says, sometimes I find magic in trees.
Absolutely. Trees are, I had a year-long conversation with God about trees, which was a long conversation, but God, a lot of people think that, you get these images on TV where you talk to God, goddess, and it's like booming voice and dramatic. But if you really get in tuned with the world around you and you get in and you begin to have conversations with God, goddess, universe, whatever you choose to call it, you realize that these conversations aren't fast. They're slow. They take a long time. And which is an interesting story because I was out on my porch one day, which is where I spend the majority of my life when I'm not with y'all. And I was sitting on my porch.
And it's summer there, which it is 90% of the time.
Yes. And oftentimes a lot of the magic that happens in my life it happens right here in my yard. It happens right here in my house.
But
and so I'm like,
you do have a magical.
I do, and I work hard. That's another thing that we'll talk about in a minute is creating that magic in your own life, in your own environment. So you don't have to go anywhere. It's right there with you. But yeah, I had been sitting on my porch, and I remember I just asked I get so much trouble doing stuff like this, y'all. But I had simply just kind of asked, what are you thinking about? Like you do with anybody. What are you thinking about? And the answer was, well, I like trees. Okay. I didn't expect that with everything going on in the universe. So I got into this year-long discussion about trees and really got into the idea how important they were to our environment, their spirit, their individual spirituality, their own personalities, how magnificently they are created. Really just kind of fell in love with them through this process of this conversation and realized that, God really likes trees. Really does. And
but you're talking about personalities that I find the trees have so unique personalities. It's amazing.
They really do. They really do. There's an aspect of earth magic. Like we talk about, when you talk about magic, and especially when dealing with elements, right? Earth, wind, fire, water, aether. Being in tune with the environment is part of living a magical life, living life, being in love with life. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us tune it out nowadays. We suppress it. We have our modern convictions, job, money.
Or it just doesn't jive with what we know.
Right.
Which is, again, I think that's shifting though. I find more and more people I'm talking to, their viewpoints are starting to shift just a little bit.
Thankfully.
But maybe that's because they asked me for readings. So I'm kind of biased.
Yeah, when I travel, this part of the travel process is we get exposed to things.
Mm.
Some of them are good, some of them are not so good, right? It's not always rainbows and kittens when you take an adventure. All right. The most epic adventures, I guarantee you the hero of the story is going, why me? Why do I have to do this?
In
Why couldn't
reality,
somebody else do this? Yeah.
I don't
So,
want to ride this horse anymore. My butt.
yeah. And so some things are not as fun, but I meet cultures and I realize how far we have to go as a species. It doesn't mean we're not traveling there. And I meet a lot of evolved individuals, right? Or individuals that are evolved in the moment, right? Because I'm just like y'all, man. I'm not always in my happy place. I'm not always in my spiritual greatness.
No, none of us are. We can't
Yeah,
maintain that. I mean, if we could,
yeah.
then we'd be, I don't know, we've got Jesus,
Right.
Muhammad,
Yeah.
we'd
Buddha.
be right.
Yeah, we'd be there. Yeah, we'd be there. The
Lily
yeah.
has a comment that's that kind of interesting. I see it in dreams. When I am clear, I see a dream which links me to a development some days later, and I find magic in dreams. So that's part of being open to finding magic, right?
It really is. Listening to your intuition, listening to what, we often talk about dreams as a force of communication, spiritual communication. And I always plead with people to keep a dream journal and track their dreams because they have so much information. We could do a whole nother segment on dreams. We can do an in-depth on dreams. But yeah, listening to your dreams and following your dreams. Also, when you're out there, following your intuition. I stole the "when in doubt, get out"
Yeah.
from yeah. And if you have any doubt, just leave. Don't question it.
Yeah,
Don't push.
I also recommend that.
Yeah, just leave. You don't even have to give an excuse. Just like bye bye. This is part of learning to trust yourself and learning to find magic in the environment. Magic is everywhere. It's in our homes, it's in our lives. We can find as much magic as you desire right in your own bedroom, or you can get out and travel the entire world. Right? It's everywhere. It's the creative force of life that you're looking for. And while travel I always recommend travel. I do,
It's
because
broadening, isn't it?
yes, it helps expand our view, and it brings us amazing understanding, right? I always learn something on my little day trips, and I don't travel for you. I mean, sometimes it's just here in town. We'll hit up something new around the area, or we'll hear about, a new park and try to bring Puppy to it and get her opinion of it. She's a hard critic. She's a hard critic. But you every time you have an experience, you have the opportunity to embrace loving life, right? And I think if more of us were in love with life, we would have less problems in the world. So many of us are fascinated. We love the horror story, and we love the news always has drama, and we have our ears at the water cooler for any little messy gossip that comes our way. Look, I'm no different. I was in the car this morning talking about some messy gossip. I was all into it. Like, they did what? You got to be kidding me. But at the same time, we need to embrace life. We need to begin to have the child heart that looks for magic again.
So Lily has a question asked you.
Mhm.
Actually, I just wonder, is it me that I find magic and magic happens, or is it destined as karma for good deeds?
It's a good question.
It really is.
Which answer do you like better? Because
I
that's the right one.
Yeah, I kind of like the one where it's not destined for good deeds, because then only certain people are going to find it, and sometimes you need to have the magic happen to create the situation where you can grow out to be worthy of it.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Convoluted.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Another answer would be magic. Things just exist, right? When we find magic, it's just because magic exists, and it is our own person that either evolves or doesn't in the presence of the moment, right? We like to think that it's destiny, right? We would love to think that it was.
Sometimes it would be destiny.
Yeah,
but
we would love to think. Yeah,
not always.
yeah, not always.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd love to think that it was destiny that Gandalf knocked on Bilbo's door because he needed a thief, right?
I'm pretty certain that was destiny.
Was it, or was it just orchestrated happenstance?
I always figured that he knew exactly what he was doing, Gandalf.
He probably did, but he thought about it a long time.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Right.
But
then
he must have known there was a thief that was there.
Right. There were so many other hobbits he could have gone to, right? He could have gone to a Took, because we know the Tooks were, misadventurous,
they have a different heart.
Right. And they did this, but he went to Bilbo, who was related to the Tooks, but at the end of the day, right, Bilbo had to walk out the door. He had to choose to do it.
Yeah.
And right. He had to choose to do it.
It's the hard part.
Mm-hmm. And so we talk about destiny. You can have all the destiny you want, but when Eve took that apple off the tree and she gave it to Adam, we now have choice, right?
I always felt she knew what she was doing.
Pretty much. Well, pretty much.
Maybe not all the ramifications, but enough.
Right. So
we have a comment here, and it does go in with creating your own magic. It says, Eliz-sha, I have been keeping the wand you made for me and I take it with me everywhere. It helps me have more in-depth meditation and practice protection from the evil eye. And part of that is believing in it. Part of that is creating your own magic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. Powerful items created, and this is getting off the topic a little bit, right? Because we talk about finding magic. We can find magic anywhere, right? We can travel, we can go to magical places. I love to go to magical places, but I find magical places in the oddest places.
Down in Louisiana, you've got to have a lot of them there.
I think we have a lot of them everywhere.
But the energy of there's something mysterious about swamplands, right?
There is. It's different. When you travel from place to place, you realize there's different energies going on.
If you come to my forest, the energy is very, very different from, and I've never been there except in dreams, into its energy spaces, but the energy is so different.
It is.
And it's a totally different kind of magic.
That's part of being sensitive, right? It's part of being, people who embrace sort of more earth magics and life magics and more life affirming worships. I won't say religions, but worships and beliefs.
There's many of them. Even spirituality has belief systems in it now.
Right. So you can, but as long as you're open to the feel of the energy around you, you're going to note a difference. There's a difference in the energy in New Mexico, which is, by the way, a beautiful state, than Idaho, which is also a very beautiful state. There's a difference in the energy of the city of San Antonio, which, by the way, I've walked the Riverwalk and I adore. I remember sitting watching the pickpockets do their trade uh, for a while. You know, there's a the difference in the magical energy there is different than Denver
Yeah.
or New York or New Orleans.
That's the same thing with countries, right? You go to
Right.
France, you go to Canada, you go to the different parts of it, because the US is broken up into parts, right?
Right.
Like California is its own reality.
World. Yeah.
Then Arizona, and then the north and the south. They're all extremely different, and it always makes me laugh. This is a side. It always makes me laugh that they want to make a one world government, but each state, each province, and all over the world is so totally different. How is that going to work?
They are. It's interesting how different we are.
Yeah.
And how different the way it flows, the lifeblood of the earth flows. Because you get into like the Appalachian Mountains, and the Appalachian Mountains are beautiful. They're a very magical place.
And they
but
have
you read,
so many mythologies. It's just amazing.
they do, but they also have a unique mineral composition to them.
Oh,
All right,
a lot of crystalline energy there.
they do.
Yeah.
And part of that mineral composition is also found in the original country that the original settlers, and I don't ask me what country it is because off the top of my head it just went out. But the mineral composition,
Plymouth Rock.
No, that's stop. You're gonna get me lost. My geography is not that great, y'all, even though I've traveled. The mineral composition of the mountains from their original country is the same as the mineral composition of the Appalachian Mountains. And so when they were looking for a place to settle, they kind of got there and they were like, man, this feels right. This feels like home, you know? And so they built that connection to that area. Very beautiful people, if somewhat
eccentric,
closed system there. It's hard to break into that system. You know, just but very beautiful people. That's the same connection to the earth that they had with their original area they were born in, made them settle there, and now they have a deeper connection with the Appalachian Mountains. So we see that sort of genetic binding or bonding to the land, which, by the way, if you ever want to move, you got to be careful of. It gets really hard to move.
Well, it's funny though, when I lived in Mexico, I felt like I was home. I did not want to leave. And I haven't felt home since I left there. I was born here.
Right.
So but I honestly, I felt, even though I was an alien and I didn't speak the language, I didn't even look like Mexicans, I'm much the wear. I felt like I was home there.
Mexico has a deep energy, amazing energy source. That's why we get so many of the mythos and legends and lores in Mexico that we do. It's a beautiful land by itself. But the reality is you resonated with the energy and the magic there, where you don't in where you're at.
Yeah, no,
so
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't interact with very few people here in the town. I interact with people over the internet. I'm happier.
Yeah.
I
have the opposite problem. I'm really attached to this land. Really attached to Louisiana. I love to travel outside of Louisiana, but I'm always pulled back. For me, this will always have that feeling. This is where I belong. This is why people leave. This is why they move sometimes, right? They're seeking that that place where they're just like, okay, this is it. This is where I belong. And we have a logical idea of that, and we have a magical truth of that.
And mine was a magical truth, not logic.
Right. And many of us go for the logical truth, right? We want the house that has a good foundation, which, by the way, it's not a bad idea. Not gonna lie to you.
Built on it will not fall.
Right. And it's got so many bedrooms, and it costs so much money, and it's in this kind of community, and we got this long laundry list of what we want. But you're going to, whether you do it consciously or subconsciously, you're going to find a place where you have a magical connection to, or you're just not going to be happy and you're going to move. That's the reality. Once you find that magical, this is it. This is home. This is my lair. This is my den, because we're naturally animals. That's what we're looking for. Then we stay. And a lot of times we stay when we should leave.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Lori has a comment or question that says, I feel strange when I receive gifts from spirit. And does anyone else have strange feelings when they receive these gifts from the spirit divine? The feelings are great, but they're strange and strong at the same time.
The gifts of the spirit, are we speaking like the classical Christian gifts of the spirit, or are we speaking?
That's all she wrote.
Okay. The gifts of the spirit's an interesting topic. All right,
but
because
it's different, I guess, from
right, because it doesn't grow inside of us. It is something that's given to us. Right, we have to have some quantum level changes, which I guess Elijah is more easier to talk to about this. There has to be some quantum changes that happen. So you do feel strange because you get that moment where you're not yourself. Right?
It's just a minute, though. It was
right.
It's just a trip because it's actually not gifts from the spirit. It's actually, like you said, from internal.
Right.
It's more a releasing of the old and letting ourselves express the new that's always been there. It soon becomes a feeling of, I can't remember what it was like before this, because it's so natural.
Yeah.
So
there's a moment of that adjustment.
That
there moment of alienness, other, especially if you're receiving that gift from outside of, like when we talk about in Christianity, we talk about a gift from the Spirit. It's a gift from the actual Holy Spirit that is given to the person. And so they're changed. It would be like, okay, suddenly the ability to understand languages is opened up to them. All right, so we call this the gift. And so this is handed to them from the Holy Spirit. But what happens, okay, let's get scientific. Just because y'all went down this road, this is y'all's fault. Okay, so when we are born, right, we have the ability to understand all languages, whether you believe that or not. Okay, the pathways in the brain are open to all languages. Once we begin to speak, say like English, okay, those pathways start running the same course and over again. So we kind of shut down the other pathways to understand language. So when the gift of the Spirit to interpret language is given, even dreams, guys, all right, those pathways are broken open. So there's a moment of change, right, that happens. Okay, so this is getting kind of scientific, spiritual, right? And suddenly those pathways are open through the gift of what in Christianity we call it the Holy Spirit, right? The big guy, the big guns. And he's like, oh, I'm going to gift you with language, bloom. And it's just like this moment of, whoa, okay, yes, I can understand when people are speaking other languages now, but I didn't before. And I feel weird. For a moment, there's this otherness, this alienness, as we start to accept that our brain can move in that direction. And
and with
we,
your normal, you're going to go, oh crap, something went
right,
wrong with my brain. I better go get a doctor and check it out.
that's exactly right. How many CAT scans have I had? Let me count them. So, yeah, so there is that moment of otherness, alien, not right, and yet still feeling right and beautiful and wonderful. Okay, because we resist, right? Just like we resist taking medicine, we resist for a moment. We're like, I know this is good for me. I know it tastes good, but
It's gonna be wrong. It's too good.
right. So that 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 happens to a lot of people.
Spirit says,
I
I
think.
get discombobulated for a moment, but I usually get a feeling that something is about to shift. Does feel
Yeah.
strange, but very beautiful. Strange because it's like walking in a new place. That's a pretty nice description, actually.
That is a nice description. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That back to the travel, knowing when something's going to shift. Right. So like yesterday we went on a literary travel where we were going to places where books had been written that we like. Oftentimes I'll travel by myself and I am very attuned to a shift, a feeling of something shifting. Because, in my personal world belief, there's ways that we can accidentally cross the veil. We can sort of step into a different twilight world, if you will. And so I've become very, I don't say cautious because y'all have no idea the stupid places I've gone. But I would say when I get that feeling of maybe something's not quite right, and I'm starting to feel a shift, I will back out. I will turn around, and I'll come at it. That doesn't mean I stay away. I come at it from a different angle because I'm about an idiot and stupid. But I do.
And your
I do get,
curiosity bump is huge.
oh, it is. I can't resist. So, like a good example of this was, I think a couple of years ago, I had Marshall. Marshall at that time was my dog, whom I loved very much. And we were traveling around, I think it was the Zuwali area. Yeah, I think it was around the Zuwali area. Anyway, driving out in the middle of nowhere because that's where I go. And I happened to see this road and it had this little tiny sign on it about like this. And it said something graveyard. I was like, okay, let's go kick around in a graveyard and see what we can find because, that's my thing. So we turned down this little dirt road and we started driving and driving and driving. I mean, there was nothing out there but like woods, and there wasn't even power lines. But I mean, sometimes you go down to graveyards and they're like that, right? So I'm driving, and after a while, I just start feeling like I'm not too comfortable with this. Something's starting to feel wrong, right? And I could feel that it's almost like I can't explain it. It's like stretching, right? A stretching feeling. And so I just stopped the car and I managed to turn the car around on this and not get stuck, by the way, good for me, on this little dirt road in the middle of nowhere that you can't even find on a map. And I turned back around. So we drove down that road for 30 minutes, but it only took me 5 to get back.
Whoa.
Right. So
yeah, that was a time warp.
Right. So time discrepancy and that feeling. And I knew that if I kept going, that stretch would break. Right. And there was a chance.
Back.
Right. I might not have gotten back. Or I might have gotten back and the world would have been sort of, we have that the shift where we think like people have died, celebrities have died and they haven't, or they're, actually alive. And
very.
Yeah.
If you go in one way and you come out another way,
right.
It can be years, but if you go back the way you came in, it should be the same.
It should be, right.
And we get that don't eat anything.
Right. Exactly. Or we get that Rip Van Winkle effect because there was a time discrepancy. Had I kept going, how much would that time discrepancy continue? So we know with Rip Van Winkle, it continued for 100 years. You
And
know,
he aged during that 100 years, which
he
is
did.
unusual.
Yes, it is. So being aware of when you're traveling, right? Being aware. I'm always curious when I get the don't looks, the don't look magic, you know. And this is things that people just normally pass up, and we see them really big in big cities. Like 90% of the people will just pass them by because the don't look magic's there. Don't look here. You know, it's an easy magic to do. And it makes something almost invisible without being invisible. You know, and those are the places that I go in, and it's usually some dive bar or a little nook store that you could never find again if your life depended on it, or a little coffee shop you know.
Sometimes they're really wonderful little places.
They are, with very strange people, you know, and you get that moment where you can sit down and just enjoy the experience, right?
There's a restaurant in Montreal. It was there for a short while. It was a Noviceum.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful memory.
That's where yes, and it's where our best memories come from, I think, is those weird, you know, and then the odd normal adventures. You know, I was out in was it Arkansas one time?
There would be some strange ones there.
I have no idea. So I stopped to eat because we were hungry, and the restaurant, literally you had to go downstairs to get to, right? And so we're walking downstairs, and across it is the sign right at eye level as you're walking downstairs, you can imagine, that says, "Be nice, my mama eats here." And I'm thinking, this is not promising, you know? So we go down, and it's like in this little basement, and it had like maybe 4 tables at the most and a couple of bar stools. And the food was so good. And like a bar stools, and the fabric's torn on them, and it looks like, you know, they grabbed them out of somebody's garbage, and they probably failed. If the health inspector ever even went there, they probably failed 15 times, but the food was great.
I love those restaurants that are illicit.
Yes.
I have eaten a few of them, and that's where you get the most authentic food.
Yes, and food is a great way to meet people, right? Because we all have food in common. We all have to eat. You want to strike up a conversation with a stranger, start talking about food. You know,
we have a new restaurant in town. It's a faux restaurant, and the people do not speak English hardly at all.
The best kind.
And you should have got to point at a thing.
What, that one? I love those places.
Yeah, and the food is, well, it's cheap, but it's good. But you're talking about seats. They are, not comfortable chairs.
Yes.
Reminded me of it.
Yeah. A lot of the restaurants in Louisiana, you'll find them everywhere. These little restaurants where you can go in, have a bite to eat, and also get your game cleaned and prepped.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can, so you can have dinner while they're making deer ground meat in the back for you and cleaning your ducks and stuff like that.
And it's illegal to do that here in BC. You have to go to a registered.
Not sure it's not illegal here either, but we do it. Yeah, so you get these, like, I love places like that. You know, you go in, and it's a restaurant in the back of a lumber yard. You know, some of the greatest food adventures I have. I think I was in wasn't Arkansas, somewhere up north. Anyway, was hungry, and they had this lumber camp set up. They were feeding food to the lumbermen, and I just got in line. Best Philly steak sandwich I've ever had in my life. Best Philly steak sandwich I've ever had in my life.
It's amazing. Yeah, I know up here, especially since COVID, a lot of restaurants have gone under. We have a lot of food trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, They have one that came from the next city over. My daughter wanted to go so badly. It was $25 for one roll of what was it? Lobster. And I said, yeah,
Oh,
no.
no, that's expensive.
That'd be
But
$100 just for a roll for 4 of us.
one of my
Mhm.
dreams is to eat lobster rolls on the East Coast. I'd love to eat a lobster roll on
We
the East Coast.
have good lobster too in the seacoast because of
Uh-huh.
the Alaskan crabs.
See, I need to go up there.
Yeah.
That's how I've been to Canada briefly and I loved it. And my son's been to Canada and tried to
Actually,
move there.
Alaska's American.
Yeah, but I mean it's close enough.
But I think it was sort of a toss up who owned it. They said, okay, we'll buy it from you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you can
take
cross
it,
the
I'll take
border.
it.
You can cross the border there. When it's really fun, you cross the border. Nobody will stop you. You stop.
Uh-huh.
You have a drink. It's like that, and you have to drink it straight. And then you go out, and then they'll stop you.
It's because of that drink.
I think so.
For some of the funnest times I've had has been crossing borders. It gets strange,
Especially the back streets, right? The back roads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really, really weird to cross border the back roads.
They really are. Because there was this one place between Nevada and California, and I would drive back and forth across the border of California. And the interesting thing is the California fruit stops, right? And so they stop you and they're like, do you got any fruit in your car? And you're like, so at the end of my mind, I'm going, I could probably have cocaine, guns, illegal, whatever. But as long as I don't have grapefruits in my car, I'm okay.
Or oranges, they'll make you
oranges, right? I could get across that border, and I always found that so amusing because one time we were in an RV and we had a RV full of kids because at that time I worked with Pentecostal Young People's Association, and so I had just a nightmare amount of kids in the back and barely any parental supervision, and they're running around there being idiots that they were because they were not good kids. And I get to the border and I'm like, we're gonna get arrested. There's just no way. And then the guy's like takes his flashlight and he's got any oranges? No. All right, go on.
He did not want a deal.
Yes, sir.
So Camille says, just got in line, a woman after my own heart. And Lori says, I missed you ladies. You are all like home. The energy is absolutely beautiful, warm and fuzzy. And she says she was gifted a grill and she took it to work and made hamburgers, and everybody appreciated it so much. It's now a monthly thing at her work.
Oh, see, that's magic in itself. We create our magic.
Yeah.
Yes, we create those magical connections. We spend so much time in the drama of life. We really do. We spend so much time questing instead of experiencing. We spend so much time searching instead of just accepting. Many of us start our spiritual path with, one simple question. For me, it was one simple question. If God existed, then surely he existed before Christianity. Right? That was my question. And I was going to go find the answer. That's how it started for me. Right? We start with the quest. We start with the concept. We start with the question. But there has to come a point where we accept the answer. Right? Where you accept the answer. And you begin to live life with that answer. Right? So it comes to the point where we're no longer the hapless Bilbo Baggins running out screaming, I forgot my handkerchief. Right? you know,
No,
and we're the age,
they should keep that part too.
right? And we become the experienced traveler that says, you know, like where, like he tells him in the next series, you know, I want to experience travel again. I want to go find the magic again, right? And so we become the person who's no longer haplessly running madly, but we're seeking, right?
Yeah.
And
No,
then we're experiencing it. We experience it. There's no more let me go find. It's in this moment. I'm finding it everywhere I go, but I long for it, so I keep going. I keep moving forward. You know, and this is where we want to be. It's like I tell my students, it's that hard till it's that easy. You know.
and then sometimes it's hard again.
Then sometimes it's hard again until it's easy again.
Yeah. And it's usually hard because we say resistance,
Yes.
and it's futile.
Right. And a lot of times because we just don't see the answer that's right there.
No.
We have trained ourselves not to live in the moment, right? Many of us live in the past and the future, and we miss the moment. Yeah. One of the biggest things that I try to tell people when I'm talking to them about their lives, don't let people steal your moment. Don't let them steal your time. Just don't.
I find that of all the things that happen nowadays, when people take my time and waste it, I'm very resentful of that. Never used to bother me, but a couple of months ago, this woman, I was so angry because she wasted 2 days of my life.
Yes.
If she'd been dumb and just been dumb because she didn't understand, I would have been fine. Right. But she could have understood and she chose not to. And I was so frustrated. Why did you waste my life?
I hear you. Yeah. I hear you. And is this like the message from the elders to the youngers, right? Because many of us in this older generation, we look at time as slipping away from us.
That's true. Right? You know, I look at myself, I say 10 years.
Right. Yeah. And so that time becomes more and more valuable, but it should have been valuable all along, right? It should have been valuable in our youth. And so to train the youth that time is valuable is, I think, a lesson we need to be passing on.
It's not that time is valuable, because time is not non-existent, but our existence is valuable.
Right. This moment that you exist.
And wasting it is not, you can waste it if you're learning. You know, because we're going to screw up. We're going to make lessons. We're going to have lessons rather than, and that's also very valuable.
I would even say you can waste it if you're wasting it. I waste a lot of time, man. I waste a lot of time sitting on my porch. Yeah, I waste a lot of time.
Valuable, right?
Right, it is. Yeah. I'm wasting my time, but it's not wasteful. It's enjoyment.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as you are in the process of this moment and you're living this moment, you're where you need to be. Magic's going to happen.
But you will know when it's not working. Yes. When you'll know when it's a waste of energy.
And that's when many of us fail to stop. Many of us fail to, like, look, you don't understand. I only got so much time to experience this, and this is not working for me. I got to go experience something else. Yeah. You know, we keep going forward, and for many reasons.
Well, like with this woman, though, I allowed her to waste my time because I was too polite to tell her, "Yeah, I'm not interested in you." And I kicked myself afterwards because I resented that she wasted 2 days of my life.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I would be I actually tell people straight up, you know, you're wasting my time. I could be doing other things.
I don't think I would do that again, actually. I think I would actually say, no, thank you. I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
But
Just, I mean,
but there's part of me that was polite, just hung on. Then I go, shit.
do I have to talk to you right now? Yeah, we allow people to steal our time for many reasons. I mean, like for years, I allowed my mom to steal my time. You
But
know,
that's a little harder. She's your mom.
she's my mom. That's right. But I still allowed her to steal my time.
Family is the hardest lesson.
It is.
Mhm.
It is. You know, and you know, I still love my mom. There's not a break in that relationship, right? There's not. But it had to come to a point where I realized the reason that I was unhappy was I was choosing to allow her to steal my moments.
Mhm.
And so I had to start putting firm boundaries and limitations there. You know, I still love you. I spent all day with my mom yesterday, by the way. Crazy woman when she's in a good mood. And, you know, but, you know, and I've allowed other people to steal my time. You know, I've allowed friends to steal my time. I've allowed
But it's
dog. Yeah.
dog. Yeah, but it's a different kind of stealing because you do it with love.
Right. Right. And there's this affection there. But at the same time, you know, that's our moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you are in a position where the people are, what are y'all doing like that? You know, but where you're not happy. Right. If you're not happy, these people are stealing your moment. Right. They can steal your magic in a moment on the highway. Okay, because I can promise you that guy that cut you off, that you railed at and yelled at and cursed, right, and then went to work and was still angry, and then took it out on your coworker, and then messed up your lunch, right? He doesn't care about you. He done forgot you. He stole your whole day.
I actually don't mind when somebody irritates me because I can yell and scream at them. And then it's gone. I let it go. Yeah. And I go, hey, I got rid of that, all that crap energy.
It's for some people, it is that way. But for others, it's not. For me,
You're wasn't. Right. Sometimes it can go on for hours that they complain.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's people who lose their moment for something that happened 20 years ago.
And nobody else knew about it but you.
Right. Right. And they're suddenly angry and upset, and they're allowing that to steal their moment and their magic.
And it says, yeah, I was like that. No more. If it's not working, I let it go.
That's right. We let it go and we live this moment. It
gets easier to live in the moment than it used to be. At least
I'm
finding it that the less I own. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about things. I'm talking about own. In my less crap I own, the easier it is just to go, oh yeah, that's, and go move on.
Yeah. Is the less, you know, because we shift our idea of what's important, then we truly get what's important, right? We get what's important, and what's important is the moment, the magical moment. You know, we don't have.
Mom, let me in.
She's having a fit. She's actually in the room with me, but I got the door shut, and people have come into the house. And, she wants out the door, but yeah, no, the moment is magical, right? To find magic in the world, to travel the world is a wonderful thing. But you can find the same magic in your own home. You can build it, you can create it. What you have to understand is you have to love it and experience it, and you will miss it every time, right? If you are, and we miss it a lot. We miss the magic in our lives a lot. A good show about this, I think, is a Map of Perfect Things on, I think I watched it on Prime. It's about these kids that kind of get stuck in a time loop, like kind of Groundhog's Day, where they relive the same day over and over and over again. But they start making a map of things that happen around them that are just perfect, right? These perfect moments. And the kid says it best. They happen all the time, where the universe just suddenly lines up and everything's perfect. But we're so busy with our lives, we miss them.
That's a pretty good show.
It really is beautiful show. And that's the truth. Magic happens all the time around us, but oftentimes we're so busy seeking, and there's nothing wrong, by the way, with learning, studying. I advocate reading. There's nothing wrong with seeking, looking for adventure. I do that all the time. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and tell you not to do that. But experiencing and watching and being aware of the perfect moments in your life, the magical times in your life. We're so focused on the troubles, the trials, and the tribulations. Right? We can do a whole Bible lecture on troubles, trials, and tribulations, that
Those
we
are lessons,
miss.
right?
Right? We miss the magic that's happening. So it doesn't do you any good to get in your car and travel the world if you're not going to be aware of and enjoying the magic when it happens, when the universe is perfectly lined up.
I had that minute this morning. I was doing a reading and I told this lady something, and she goes, and she had this huge aha, and her face went from stress to beautiful. And I was just, I was just in heaven.
You get to experience it vicariously. Yeah, I love those moments.
Me too.
Where you get to
I actually made her stop and look at herself because she'd become just gorgeous.
Yeah. One of those moments ruined my love life. It ruined romance for me forever. I kid you not. I was in a bookstore, and there was this man sitting there. I remember watching him because I'm hyper. I study awareness, and there's a lot of things that I do, but I'm always aware of my environment.
Sorry, I got to take this.
So, sure, I'll finish telling the story. Anyway, while she's taking the phone call, she just won't hear it. So I don't know if y'all can hear me. I hope you can. So anyway, I'm sitting there in the bookstore and I can see him, and he doesn't have any coffee or a book. He's just sitting there, and he has this lost look on his face, like the world's just wrong for him. And this girl walks in to the coffee shop, and he looks up and he sees her, and everything stopped for a moment. I mean, I was frozen in place. The whole world was frozen in place in this one moment. And when he saw her, there was this explosion of light, and she walked up to him and they hugged. And then all of a sudden the world started moving again. And when the world started moving again, I realized that's love. And I would never be satisfied until I had love like that. So it completely ruined my love life because I was never able to find that kind of beautiful soul connection that I saw in that one moment. But I got to experience it and witness it. To tell y'all about it now, it was just this powerful magic, right? This explosion of energy. Beautiful, beautiful moment. We get to witness it. Right. It spread out. Everybody was in a good mood for the rest of the day, I can promise you. Yeah. They didn't know why. But they were.
But not just that. You have that ripple effect too that you carry with you to this day.
Yes,
so
I do.
You know what true love is, even with it's a vicarious knowing.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said it messed up my romantic life for the rest of my life.
Actually, it might become the magnet for you too.
Right. That was my gold standard. If I couldn't experience that, I didn't want to experience it. So yeah, no. These happen around you all the time. All the time, every day, every single day, something is perfect, right? You just got to be willing to experience the magic. Now, is it perfect good? Yeah, maybe. Sometimes it's perfect bad. Perfect bad things happen too.
It's still perfect.
But it's still perfect. I can tell you, walking into a spider web was terrifying, but that spider thought that spider web was perfect. Okay. Yeah, these are possible for you. If you begin to just exist, right? We strive to just exist. Just existing sounds easy. You ask people all the day, what are you doing today? Oh man, just existing, just doing nothing, just being here. It sounds easy, but are they really? Because when we just exist, we just experience the moment, right?
And that's what true
And
love is, isn't it? It's being in the moment
right.
and allowing that moment to be shared.
Yes. Yes. And you don't have to travel to Stonehenge to
But I
feel
would like
magic.
to.
I would like to too. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not saying don't do it. If you have the opportunity, I'll be with you on the plane. Give me a ticket. But you don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to go very far. You can. I do. Or you can choose not to. I do. I choose not to sometimes. You know, my yard is the greatest adventure place ever. Ask Puppy. She will tell you.
Well, it's not just that. You have adventure come to you.
Yes.
You have a, what is it, something watership down in your own backyard?
Yes. You're talking about the invader rabbits. Yes,
Yeah.
I have invader rabbits. We have at least 4 or 5 of them now that come to the yard every day.
Spirit says first, true love creates miracles. And Lori Dawson says, I agree. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be love between a man and a woman or whatever is your gender. It can be just love between people.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, yes. When we talk about, a lot of times in modern Western culture, we equate love with sex.
yeah.
Right? Love does not equate with sex. Biology and the drive to produce equates with sex.
Mm-hmm. And
You can,
it can manifest later into love.
right, it
But
can,
it's
or
not,
it
it's
can,
not generally.
yeah.
Generally, you have lust or wow, then love.
Yeah.
If
What's that
you're
old
lucky.
song? Zing goes the thing and zing goes my heart.
Yeah, I know what you
Yeah.
mean. But I don't know
Yes.
the song. I know the
It,
song, but I don't know it.
yeah. It's that zing we feel, that biological drive to mate, to have sex. Beautiful body, Mr. Hottie McBody and Miss, sexy, sweetheart Susie. We just like, oh yeah, and our body goes, you're in love, and we're like, no, that's biological chemicals, but I'm going to call it love, and we get confused.
Yeah,
We
but
get
it is
confused.
definitely two separate
Right.
things, which if you're lucky
Completely.
will maintain when you fall in love.
Right. They can coexist. They can.
Mhm.
But love itself can be applied to anything.
Yeah,
Love is the most powerful force in the universe.
it can be between you and your dog, between you and your
Right.
mom, between you and
Oh yeah, tell me I don't love my
Hottie
child.
McBody.
Right. It can be Hottie McBody
Mm.
or Sexy Susie. Yeah, it can be. But it's 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 a magic unto itself, a connection that can't be explained, a force that drives us. This, like the Bible says, love excuses a multitude of sins, right? And that is so true. When we love something, man, it can be doing horrible things and we'll still love it.
Yes, that's exactly true. But soon as your eyes get the filter falls off,
Yeah,
you oh yeah, no, that's not good.
that's not good. But see, like, I love my dogs. Right now we got the street dog Zoe, right? She is a street dog. Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, that dog she didn't live a day in her house. Whoever owned her before me, they kept her outside because she has no house.
Etiquette.
She potty trained really fast. So she had me under the illusion that she had lived in a house. The more I got to know her, the more I realized this dog hasn't lived in a house. She doesn't know not to chew on electrical cords. Right? So,
oh, that is not fun.
It is not fun. But I'm beginning to love her.
You
So
loved her from the moment you rescued her. Don't give us that.
I did, but I didn't. that's a long story.
You
But
tried not to, I know.
I tried not to. I really thought her owner would come get her. She had a collar on, and I really honestly thought somebody would come get her. They never did. But she does things, and she does them wrong. But in my love, I don't excuse it, right? Because love doesn't excuse, right? But I don't create an illusion over it. I don't say she doesn't do it. She does do it, but I love her, and I see the better in her, because love excuses a multitude of sin. We
But
will
you
we
see
will
the better in
forgive.
her, and that also
Right.
makes her strive to do the
Right.
better. And that
Exactly.
it happens with animals, it happens with humans.
Oh yeah, let your dog love you.
Yeah.
That's how I became the beautiful person I am today. Was living up to their expectations. Right?
Did
They
you
have
know
high expectations.
did you know that when you accidentally step on a dog, they don't think you can make a mistake, and they think you did it on purpose?
That's right.
And I don't know how many times our Tolliver is right there, and you step on him, and he's going, and
Yeah.
we have to 10 minutes to tell him we love him because we didn't do it.
Oh, because oh yeah, that is so true. Dogs are amazing. Cats are amazing. Plants are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
People can have a love relationship with a plant.
It
This is love.
really is
Yeah,
interesting, the love relationship with the plant.
it is. And it's love. It's not sex. It's not biology. Love energy exchange is different. When we talk about love energy exchange, right? You can love something and never have physical contact with it,
That's,
right?
I mean,
So
how many people fall in love over the internet nowadays?
exactly.
And I know a few of them that, well, I haven't talked to them for a few years, but they were really happy together.
Yeah.
After they actually met. I think it was 5 years.
I truly believe that, because we get the better truth,
Well, it's harder
right?
to lie on when you're writing and typing, isn't it?
Hmm.
You
You
feel
can do it.
more like you feel more
Right.
like you can lie, but it's
Yeah.
easier to admit than lie actually. On
Yeah. It is easier because that in the space creates a buffer. Right. That's why love letters were so popular back in the day before the internet. We didn't have the internet. We wrote love letters to one another. Right. And so there was this buffer of distance between letter and person. Right. So I could tell you what I could tell you what I really thought without having to face the consequences right in front of me. So there was a buffer to that. And that buffer creates a conduit for truth. A conduit for truth.
that's
So
true. And then sometimes it scares the bejeebers out of the other person.
yeah. Oh yeah. The worst thing I have ever felt was the weight and responsibility of something that loved me.
And
It's the
that's true because
best thing and it's the worst thing.
it depends. If you feel the
Yeah.
love back, it's not so heavy.
Yeah.
But if you
Right.
feel it as a responsibility, then
Mm-hmm.
it's a little heavier.
It is very heavy. I mean, every morning I wake up with people and things that love me. I'm blessed that way. I live with people and things that love me, sometimes too much. You know,
Well,
right. But I also live with that there's an expectation there, right? They're putting me high up. I am placed high up,
mhm.
right? So here I am high up, but I'm really kind of the person that sits way down, you know?
But Mom, you
In
feed me. You love me.
right. And so I wake up every morning just in joy. All right. I am in joy of my life because I love living. And
Well,
if I could ever heal the world, I would heal it by allowing each person to love living.
are being joy.
Right.
So
And
Nicola we were talking, Nicola and I, and we're talking about happiness and joy. And true spiritual, when you're truly in spirituality, there's a rhythm or thrum of joy.
Right.
And it never, ever truly leaves, no matter the good, the bad, the ugly. Happiness will spike and leave, but joy is always there. So that's what true spirituality, if you're not in joy, it's not truly spiritual.
That's true. That's true.
I hate to say this, but I'm getting to the place where I'm winding down. So
that's fine. I gotta go because you hear my
your tribe.
Yeah, you hear my tribe. It's like she's like, they have come home, and my family knew I was doing a video, so they haven't come in, and she's trapped on the other side of the door of excitement.
Okay, so that's hard on puppy.
Right. She's like, I know they came in. I know they have prizes. I want to go smell bags. I want to be with my pack. You have me locked in here.
It's funny, isn't it? When we come in, doesn't matter what we have. The dogs put their head in every bag.
Just
Right
they
up.
love to do that. They love to do that. They love to smell 10,000 things. That's what they love to do.
And right now, our dogs can't go outside because the smoke is so horrendous.
From the wildfires.
From the wildfires,
right.
we can't see our mountains half the time.
So that's so scary.
So I don't take I try not, because it's really bad on their lungs, right?
Right.
So when we come home, their heads in everything.
In the next in depth, I want to cover the weather. I want to cover the weather changes.
Next Monday, right?
Right. I want to cover the weather, how it affects earth magic, how it affects earth sensitive people.
So that was what we were supposed to talk about today.
Kinda, yeah, because I was kind of gonna like hit on global warming and stuff like that. But I really actually enjoyed this topic way much more. Because I do love to travel. I love a good adventure.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah, and I recommend to all of y'all. Right?
It's eye-opening. It's expand your horizons.
Right. You don't have to go far. You can go right out your door. Just step out your door and just try to experience magic. And by magic, I mean life itself. Just allow it to be and experience it. Enjoy it in that moment. Take a moment away from paying the bills, the job, the kids, the house, the 10 million list of things. And just for just a moment.
We have a restaurant that we go to. It's a breakfast restaurant. And we go there with the expectation that we're going to be thoroughly abused. And we love it.
Yes.
And that's part of what you're talking about. We go there knowing that we're going to be ribbed, and Elle's going to get smacked on the head, not me. With a bit of respect.
Yes. Leave with expectation. Live with expectation. Not even just go out and take it out of your head that you don't need a spiritual journey to have spiritual. Right? You don't need a pilgrimage.
Everything we do, every breath we take is a spiritual journey.
Existence. Right. Right. And that's what I would leave y'all with this video. Would leave y'all with this video. Just live it now. Don't go looking for it. Live it now. Because you can go looking for it all you want to. If you're not living it, you'll never find it.
Exactly.
So just live it now. Live it now. Live life. Fall in love with life. That's what I would leave this video with. Fall in love with life.
Yeah. And the more you love it, the more you will attract love.
Yep.
That's sure. So thank you very much. It's been wonderful. We had a blast.
It has been.
Yeah. Okay. I will talk to you all later. And thank you everybody who's there now and who's ever coming on later. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your questions. And that's it. I'm really bad at goodbyes. I don't think that's ever going to change.